and got involved in that way. To kind of get into your system, you know, when the presidential caucuses and presidential candidates are coming to town, you always had opportunities to meet them like we do now, even to this very day. And I can remember a time, clear back in 1975, very young individual, was working in insurance and real estate at that particular time, and one hot August day, there was a call that came in from some friends of mine that said that one of the presidential candidates was coming to town. We had anything going on, and I really didn't. And it was before the days of beepers. You were a big deal if you had a beeper, let alone, you know, if your beeper went off, that meant you were an important person. But anyway, I went off to this event at one of the local hotels, and we were standing outside the hotel lobby waiting for this presidential candidate to show up. And as we were standing out there, I was one of the younger guys in the group, and they were saying, "You're going to be nice to this individual, but we're not going to support it. There's no way this person has any chance of ever becoming president of the United States." So I'm sitting there kind of minding my own business, didn't want to say much and just listened. The person came to the meeting, gave a nice little talk. I mean, it was okay. Nobody was overly impressed, but you can tell this individual was pretty sharp. After the meeting was over with, he wanted to go out to the state fair. It was August and it was hot, and nobody wanted to take him. Well, I was a young guy in the group, so I said, okay, we'll drive out to the state fair. And we drive out to the state fair, and we get in the line at the varied industries at the Grand Avenue entrance and buy our tickets. And I'll never forget, he had his coat over his shoulder, and he said, "Where should we go?" I said, "Well, let's go to the Varied Industries building. That's where a lot of the parties have their, you know, you can meet people there." So he goes there, and I'm still watching him. I'm thinking, well, this guy's pretty impressive. And he goes and starts shaking hands with everybody. And I'll never forget it with my interest into politics, because as he was shaking hands, he was telling everybody, he said, "Hello, my name's Jimmy Carter, and I'm running for president of the United States." Now, and that was kind of, and nobody had any idea who this guy was. But he was impressive at that particular time, and talked to a lot of people. After it was done, we got in the car. He had about an hour to kill before he was going to take a small plane to Davenport. So I drove him around town. I literally could have took him any place, because he was just had time to visit, and very impressed with him. And we drove around, dropped him off at the airport, and I went back to work after I'd been gone for about 4 hours. And my brothers who were in the business with him, Steve knows, said, "Where have you been? You've been gone all day long. You just started here, and nobody's been able to find you." And I said, the prophet that I didn't know I was going to become, I said, kind of facetiously, "Don't bother me, I've just been the next president of the United States." And the guy got elected president. Anyway, that's how my take-in is to, and how I got up into it a little bit. And then one thing led to another, and I took a job with Polk County as an election director, and then ran for county auditor in 1996. And served as auditor for 10 years until the Secretary of State's seat opened up, and then ran for Secretary of State. Now, Secretary of State's office and county auditor office, they kind of meshed together, because the Secretary of State oversees the 99 county auditors when it comes to the election process. And elections are a big thing in not only our state, but across the whole United States and across the whole world. And I think Iowa has a pretty good election process in place, and we wanted to continue to develop that. And I thought, as a county auditor and a former election director, it had been nice to have somebody in the Secretary of State's office who had some experience with elections. That brought me to, from all that period of time. Still got my real estate license, still got my broker's license, is active, and taught a lot of real estate classes, and I like to teach school, and I really enjoy that part of it. And as Secretary of State, I've had opportunities to get out in front of young groups, and you get a chance to go to the schools and talk to the students there about civically getting involved, not only with voting, but getting involved in their community and their organizations. And one of the things, I was talking to Don, I'm glad Don Sante came today, I've known him for a while, and one of the things we try to do is get young kids involved in the school process by acquainting them with voting and how that process works. And we do every 2 years, we do what's called a mock election. And last year in 2008, of course, with the big presidential election, we had students all over Iowa participate in that mock election. It gives you kind of a good bellwether of how they're thinking, but if not how they're thinking, how their parents are thinking, because they learn about the process of voting, and they actually participate in that process and get to vote. We offer that to all the high schools, and I can't remember if Atlantic High School participated or not, but we'll give them that opportunity again this year as we go into that. And hopefully the schools and the teachers and the community is making that a part of their curriculum somewhere, the election process, how it works, because it's such an important part of everything we do. In the Secretary of State's office, there's two different departments. There's a business service department, and there's an election department. Now, everybody who's ever been in business has done something with the Secretary of State's office because you register through the Secretary of State. And we think we've done, since we've been in office, we've taken it to a new level. You know, the biannual report year is coming up this year, and there'll be thousands and thousands of people doing their biannual reports, and we have UCC filings. We've gotten about 90 to 95% of those now done online. And what that means is it makes it easier for you, makes it easier for us, and also cuts down on the expenses. We feel that we've got a great webpage out there, and I encourage you, rather than me to read off our webpage address, I encourage you to do it the easy way. If you have a computer, go out to Google and put in Iowa Secretary of State's office, and then go right to that site. That's the easy way to do it. And then you can see what we have out there on our business services side. In addition to the biannual reports and the corporations and the nonprofits, we do notaries. There's about 65,000 notaries in Iowa, believe it or not. And we have all the notary registrations, and all that stuff can be done online now. We think that's a real plus for what's happening in our office, and we're trying to make it as user-friendly as possible. On our election side, which is a big side of both sides are big. On the election side, we thought we've had some great accomplishments in just the time since I've been there. We've done things that I think are very important to the whole state and be important to anybody, whether you're Republican or Democrat. We've got all our equipment in Iowa is uniform, which means every county uses the same type of equipment to vote. So instead of having a different piece of equipment, one county or next, everybody in Iowa now, I just came from visiting Dallas Sunderman at the auditor's office, and he's been there, and I think he does a good job talking to him about his election process. And everybody votes on an optical scan machine, and all the ballots are voter verified paper trail, which means you can go out after the election, and you can look at the ballots after the election, go with, if you have a close election, and you can reconcile and make sure that everyone feels comfortable with how that process works. That's not only happening in Cass County, that's happening across the whole state. In addition to that, we think we've done some great work with disabled voters. At every precinct in the state now, we have what's called a ballot marking device. You know, for those individuals who have difficulty marking a paper ballot or seeing the ovals, it'll magnify. You put your ballot, they get the same ballot everybody else gets. They put it into the ballot reader, and it scans the ballot for them, and they can look at a big screen now. And they can read that big screen and mark their ballot from the screen, which marks the ballot. If they're completely blind, you can put a headset on. If you can listen, it'll read the ballot to you, and it navigates you around so you can mark the ballot. If some people have difficulty, physically coloring in the ovals, it'll mark it for you. So I call it the expensive pencil because it does all those things for you, brings the ballot back, and allows you to vote like everybody else. Now that might not seem like a big thing to a lot of people who are completely physically capable of doing those things, but to the disabled, that's big. And we have that in every precinct in every county in the state of Iowa. So we think those are good things there. A couple other things we deal with, the tough budget crunch. I can tell you these are tough budget times in Iowa. And everybody's trying to look at ways to save money. One of the things I think happened in the election cycle that you'll notice this upcoming year is school elections have been changed every other year. You know, most of the time throughout the state of Iowa, we have difficulty having people fill positions to run for school board offices. And with those elections being every year, they became quite costly. We were able to get legislation passed that moves elections for schools, just like cities are done and like counties are done every other year. That's going to save $1 million alone in that year when there's not a school election. We think that's fantastic. We've also took our voter registration system, which is a statewide voter registration database that became part of federal legislation after the year 2000. Everybody remembers the year 2000 and the Florida election and all the closeness of determining who was going to be president and who was not going to be president. Well, they changed laws after that, and one of them they did was they said all the voter registration systems for each state, instead of being done on individual county level, have to be done on the state level in the office of the Secretary of State. So we put into place an iVoter system, a statewide voter registration database. When they first put that in place in Iowa in the year 2000, they actually contracted that out to a firm in Oregon called Sabre Consulting. I don't know if you ever heard of them. I know you're from Oregon back there, but Sabre Consulting did it. And it was quite costly and quite expensive, but they operated in a good manner. We have been able to take that and bring it in-house and bring it back to Iowa so that we're doing it in place in our office. Voters will see nothing different. County auditors will see nothing different, but the taxpayers are going to save about $500,000 a year. So we think that's good, and you're looking for ways in which you can cut back and save money. We felt that was a nice way to do it.